So yes, you cry, that's a Bedford HA van. Well, it is, but this one has got Olivia Newton-John and Blondie on the side. Welcome to Lot 76 Cars, and today you join me at the Practical Classics and Car Restoration Show. We're going to see some great cars today, including this barn find Chrysler 180. When's the last time you saw one of those? So let's kick off the barn finds with this fabulous 1949 standard Vanguard, which the current owner's grandfather owned. It was used as a taxi, then taken off the road with head gasket trouble, I think in 1979. Actually, it's in pretty good nick. Apart from the theatrical bit of straw, actually the bodywork doesn't look too bad, does it? That's in really good order. That's going to restore pretty well, I would have thought. So you don't see too many Mark 1 Astras this day, and certainly not in this condition. This is a 1984 Mark 1 Astra, and usually it's the 1600S. Most of them have the 1300 engines in. It's got that lovely tweedy interior. Oh, we benefit for a bit of a clean there. It is the hatchback. The base models of these had unusually a boot. Why you'd engineer a car with a separate boot for one derivative is difficult to imagine, but that one I think would clean up pretty well. So this is truly a rare sight, isn't it? The Giugietto Giugiaro styled Fiat Uno, a couple of years after launch, gained a turbo version, and this is it. So in actual fact, parts for these are apparently becoming quite hard to find. In fact, the cars are hard to find, never mind the parts. It hasn't rusted away like a lot of Fiats of this era, and the Uno was really a massive step forward. Love those period red and black seats in there. Constantly reminded it's an Uno Turbo IE on the steering wheel. That lovely switch gear in there, that toggle switch gear, rocker switch gear. And again, it's a car that is has got a lot to give, hasn't it? Still incredible. So one of Alec Isigonas's greatest hits is the Morris Minor, codename Mosquito. This is an early car. In actual fact, it was gifted to the British Motor Industry Heritage Trust. I think it's been in a barn since 2001. It needs a lot of work. Yeah, you can find the parts. It's got that pressed steel grille at the front. It's got the split screen of the early cars. There's something about that split screen does make it that little bit more distinctive. Well, a lot makes that distinctive, including the bird lime all over it as well. But the owls have been bombing that one, haven't they? Originally sold by ISO, an Italian company, this little micro car is an Isetta, and they licensed this car to a number of different companies, including BMW. So this was one of BMW's very early micro cars. I think they replaced this with the 700, and they even built these in Brighton. Now this one is a two-owner car sold through a motorcycle dealer in Leamington Spa, so it's right-hand drive. Not that it probably matters. Not a huge amount of space in there, but then again the door does open and take the steering wheel with it, and it's in that lovely primrose yellow, isn't it? I do like that one. That's really caught my eye. So William Towns of Aston Martin Lagonda fame also designed quite a few other cars. In fact, one of them was a Hustler. Now I've seen the longer wheelbase version of this, but I've never seen a short wheelbase Hustler like this one. I believe that they were only sold in kit form, but stick it in the comments if you know different. Now this one's been uprated. It's even got a sunroof, electric windows, and an uprated braking system apparently. And to say it's a barn find, it's looking remarkably well. So Austin had a few attempts at moving their models up market, and one of them was the shear line, but the other one was this 1952 Austin Princess 2. Later cars I think carried the Vanden Plas name. A lot of these probably have got banger raced in the 70s and 80s. Not so many of these left now, but certainly great to see one here that's got a chance of survival. So this 1953 Lanchester 14 might need a little bit of work in here. Apparently it was the last car to be produced by them when they were sort of absorbed by Daimler themselves, absorbed by Jaguar at a later stage, and there was a reduction from a 6-cylinder car to a 4-cylinder car, which helped with fiscal horsepower and taxation at the time. Again, you know, this one needs huge amounts of work. Unless you're doing this yourself, then probably the labour will kill it. I'm not going any closer to that one because I'm a bit worried about the rodents that might have entered the show on that particular car. But yeah, a bit of work needed. So this is a very late Ford Cortina Mark V, a 1982 in fact. It's the same year as the new Sierra was introduced. Now the Sierra with its so-called jelly mold styling was a bit divisive. In fact, so much so that dealers actually stocked up on the outgoing Crusades, and I think they were more or less sold in tandem for a while. Nevertheless, the Mark V's tend to survive because allegedly they've got better rust protection than the Mark IVs. It's got the gear interior that came with the Crusader. Look at the wood cappings there. That's probably real wood as well. Sunroof looks like it might leak. In fact, it probably does. But yeah. And it's a 2-litre as well. It's got a little bit of go with it. Now, as Unicorn goes, this is pretty much up there. It's a Chrysler 180, so developed under Chrysler Europe's ownership of the former Roots empire. It's not in bad condition. It's a 1978. Not too much history on this one, but in actual fact, if you look at the bodywork on it, it doesn't actually look that ropey, to be fair. And you know, I hope somebody puts the money into restoring this, because this is really rare. It's got echoes of Mark III Cortina there, hasn't it? So this Escort Mark II, I think project code name was Brenda or something. This one's been owned by the current owner for, I think, 36 years. So since before the time that Mark II Escorts were worth more than titanium by the kilo. But this one is going to enter a full restoration. A lot of these came back from South Africa, but this one is a proper UK car. Got the spot lamps, got the stripes on the side. Yes, it's only a 1300. I had a 1300L and that used to go all right. Probably all the rust that had eaten the metal away. Yeah, who wouldn't want one of those? Well, I would anyway. So I never tire at looking at these. It's a Renault Avantime, now built to keep the Matra factory busy. When they took ownership of the production of the Mark III Espace back in house, they said to Matra, what can you come up with? And they came up with this, a 2-door plastic MPV. Yes, really, I mean, incredible cars, incredible styling. This one's got an unusual interior in it. I'll just try and take a look at those hinges as well, because the hinges on the doors, they are just massively over engineered. I'm not sure if you can see it there, and that's one of the reasons that the project took a while to come to fruition. That fabulous sort of aircraft style cockpit. This one's got the two-tone leather. Yeah, it's got a bit of seating, bit of leg space in the back seats, but look at the doors on it. I mean, if I just shut the doors, they're absolutely massive. Now this one's in brilliant order, and it's one of one in the UK with that interior leather pack. Great to see that, isn't it? Now I tend to talk a lot about Giugiaro in my videos. I do admire some of the designs he's come up with over the years, and this is one of them. This is a Yugo Sana. Now these were budget price cars back in the day. This is what, a 1991 Sana GL. I'm not quite sure what came with the GL, but interesting styling. It's got a bit of TPO about it in there, possibly. It is apparently the only known surviving GL model in the UK. So there you go, a bit of Citroen. It's got a Citroen ZX looking, hasn't it? What do you think? Put that in the comments. So this Audi 100 Coupe S from 1973 has got, wait for it, an incredible 15,000 miles on the clock. So the first owner ran it. When he got too ill to drive, he put it in his heated garage, gifted it to a neighbour of his for helping him look after it, and then it found its way into its current ownership. There's this stunning turquoise paint finish. It is absolutely incredible. No wonder it's won some awards by the look of it, so yeah. Now you're very unlikely to see too many Toyota Hiaces full stock, never mind camper vans like this one. It's in stunning condition. I believe The paint on it is maybe the original paint. We'll ask the owner in a second. That it was it's just driven here, hasn't arrived on a trailer, fully equipped inside. I do like the TV. I hope they've got a license for that. What a beauty, isn't it? And I particularly like the fondue set on the table. You've got everything for exquisite dining, and when you've finished, you've got somewhere to sleep on the roof. Brilliant, isn't it? So I'm with John. He's going to tell us about this High Ace, which has never been painted. It's in absolutely immaculate order, and it's a camper van. Tell us about it, John. What's the story with it?
The story is my father bought it in '78.
Okay.
And after 10 years he put it into store and got a static caravan. After he died, we took it out, started using it, got rid of our VW camper, and then realised it was too good to use all the time, so now we just use it for shows.
Wow. And original paint?
Original paint, original chrome, original interior trim. It's had crown wheels put on it, and it's had a stainless steel exhaust, and apart from normal maintenance, that's it.
Fabulous. Well, thanks for telling us about it. Much appreciated.
You're welcome.
Thank you. So VW have always been good at using their parts bin and turning the Golf into the Sirocco, albeit this later one here, and then in the later days using the Golf, I think, Mark II platform to develop the Corrado. So built at Osnabrück by Carmen on behalf of Volkswagen, did have a number of different engines, 1.8 8-valve, 16-valve, I think G60 supercharger, and the infamous or famous VR6. This one's a beauty. I think it might even be one of the run-out Storm models. It's got some upgraded wheels. It's got a stunning interior, stunning leather interior. It's in fabulous order. These apparently handled exceptionally well, and the rear tail spoiler could be actually raised manually, or it would come up at a certain speed, maybe 45 miles an hour, something like that. But yeah, who wouldn't want that? Now, I shouldn't really have a favourite so early in the show when there's so many cars to see, but this one's for sale, and it's an E21 3 Series BMW Cabriolet, but it's the Bauer Cabriolet, so actually converted separate to BMW's production line, not the full convertible. Some would argue actually in some ways more usable. I guess you can just take off the central panel and not necessarily the rear panel. The paint is in brilliant condition. It's a former Lancaster pride of ownership car, and you can see why. It's absolutely lovely preserved, isn't it? Wow, what a beauty. Well, raid the piggy bank for that one, because it's lovely. Look at those tiny diameter BMW wheels. Yeah, definitely that is absolutely one of my favourites for the show so far. So I'm on the stand of Cherish Vehicle Insurance Services, and these are the guys who are not only insurance brokers but real classic car fans as well. You might recognise this C124 Coupe with the monoblock alloys. It's a 320, it's a later car with the recessed grille, and you might recognise it because it's already been on the channel. I drove this about a year ago, and it is lovely, absolutely lovely. What a pretty design that turned out to be. So this Opel Monza GSE was in daily use until not such a long time ago. The current owner, Ian, of Cherish Vehicle Insurance runs the car. He's commencing a very thorough restoration of the car. It's unusual because I think it's a Digidash car, and the GSEs were Digidash. There is a fair bit of rust to deal with. Just looking at the back, I'm being very careful how I pick the tailgate up. Yeah, but if you're good at welding, I'm sure Ian would like to hear from you. Well, so without further ado, let's have a chat with Ian and get us to tell us a bit more about his journey with this car, because this is going to be one hell of a project. So I'm here with Ian from Cherish Vehicle Insurance Services. Now, he's taken on the brave of the brave and rescued this Monza GSE. Tell us, you got it from a field?
So the car was pulled out of a field in 2009. It was one of two that came out of the field.
Right.
A friend of mine wanted a spares Monza, and the other Monza was worse than this. So we paid.
Oh, it was worse? Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
So we paid the pricey sum of 150 quid per car.
Per car. Well, that sounds
2009.
like good value, I think, doesn't it?
They didn't have any paperwork with them, but you're buying cars out of field, and there were other old cars there. The farmer had them in the field. He said the guy that was storing there hadn't paid the rent anymore, so they were ready to go. I ran a HPI on them, and they both came back clear. So I thought, well, given that one of them is going to go to scrap, this one was the better one. We thought we'll do something with this one, being a later car. And well, anyhow, it then
Sat for a little while.
Then they then came back onto the road, got MOT'd, and then when a logbook was applied for,
Right.
the DVLA sent a letter back saying, sorry about this car's been scrapped.
Oh dear.
Oh dear. So vehicle was put in under the scrappage scheme, because 2009 is just post scrappage scheme.
Of course.
And now you look back at the field of cars, which was full of Granadas, Cortinas, and big Toyotas. It was a banger racer. So he was collecting cars for scrappage scheme. They were
Right.
ticked as scrap.
Right.
They were scrap cars, so he was going to banger race them. Fair
Right.
enough. That's what he was going to do.
Yeah, sure.
At no point at all did they think that it was ever going to reappear back on the road.
No.
There was then quite a long argument with the DVLA to get
Right.
a logbook reissued, which was eventually solved by a crayon rubbing of the VIN plate.
Very good.
So their beef was, put it bluntly, they were determined that myself and one of my friends were the issue, and we pointed out that actually the problem was whoever ticked the scrap marker on the logbook, they didn't scrap it. So it's not our problem, it's your problem. So a logbook was then reissued. It's on its original number plate. It's always been this reg. It's never had any reg changes on it at all. It was then in 2009, 2010 tarted up. You've got to remember, it wasn't a lot of money, the car. Actually, it could have been 250 quid.
It sounds a bit more expensive.
Let's not get lost on 100 quid.
Yeah, indeed.
And it was then sort of tarted up. It then had a really good sort of run in sort of the early sort of 2010, 11, 12. I then ran it round Europe in 2015, 2016, and basically when it on its way back, the rear wheel bearings got a bit manky. Exhaust started falling off. Typical old Vauxhall things. It was then commonly put into the storage hedge, which is where you put cars and the hedge sort of grows over it and they vanish and no one knows about them. We then extracted it from storage hedge 2 years ago. We did a little bit of welding to the back of the sill, ran it for an MOT. We then did 3,000 miles around Europe, pretty much with still a lot of green mould on it.
Wow.
We did a navigation rally with it. I then drove it last year as my day-to-day mode of transport and clocked up nearly 17,000 miles in this daily.
Okay.
And it went in October last year. The MOT expired, and just because a car's got an MOT, it doesn't mean it's a good car. That's all I'm going to say. And the back end of it, there's lots of rot underneath trims and bits and bobs like that. So just went to town, really. I mean, is it worth fixing? Not really. Am I going to fix it? Of course I am.
Excellent.
I mean, you don't go
logic goes out the window, doesn't it? Really. Let's not add up what we spend on these. I mean, I'll cut in some pictures of the car, because this is it's a Digidash car. They weren't all Digidash cars, were they?
GSEs were all Digidashes.
Oh, were they Digi? Okay.
Non-GSEs were analogue, and in parts of the way, I quite like analogue dashboards because you have a big rev counter that goes up and it looks really energetic. And Digidashes, whilst they sound really cool, the fuel gauge goes down in 2 bars, and that's really disappointing because it can be quite thirsty around town.
Okay, and quite surprised now how quickly the bars this. Well, thank you for telling us about it, and good luck with the restoration and getting it back on the road, because they're great looking cars. Thank you very much. Thanks, Ian.
Nice.
Appreciate that. So Jeff buys cars, but he doesn't sell cars, and he's got quite attached to this South African Renault 10, and it's been on the channel for a while now. He's had quite a lot done. He's had the roof painted. Not sure if the car's open, possibly not. Oh, the car is open, but look at the headlining. Now I think he's invested several pounds in some wallpaper to get to that level, and he's even got a decent bit of carpet in there. What a fabulous car that one is. And I guess no MOT and 0 road fund license. What's not to like? So I hope you've enjoyed the show so far. I'm going to go downstairs into Hall 5 and have a look in a second. including the fabulous Lancaster Insurance Pride of Ownership section, which proves to be very interesting. So keep watching. So 45 years ago, customers, including Lionel Blair apparently, remember him, were wowed by this Mitsubishi Sapporo Coupe. It's pretty, it's rare, there are apparently only 5 of these left in the UK. It's got that absolutely incredible interior, typical of its time, with the instrument binnacles, hoods, a little bit of space in the back, and that sort of semi-coupe style. It's not a hatchback, it is actually a separate boot, but isn't that an absolute unicorn? Brilliant to see it here today. So this is a Lancia Y10, or is it? It's a Y10 Fire LX, but it was sold in export markets as a Lancia, but the home market as Auto Bianchi. Now, Auto Bianchi was a joint venture between Fiat, bicycle company Bianchi, and Pirelli back in the day, and it was a bit of a test bed. This is towards the end of the life of Auto Bianchi, but let's take a look at it. It's the, as I say, it's the LX version, and if we just have a sit inside it, the seats are glorious, but look at the glove boxes here. You've got no shortage of storage space. You've got this sort of Alcantara glove boxes, and there's actually 3 of them in here. There's also one over here, so no shortage of storage space. It is a full 4-seater, and of course, as we'll take a look in a second, it's got that unique tailgate, that black tailgate. Now, I'm not sure what the story was behind the black tailgate, but they all had it, and that has it as well. Lovely to see that. What a rare bird that is. So I'm on the stand with the guys at Klasycznia Polonia. Sorry about that if I butchered that in Polish. So here's an FSO Polonaise. Do you remember these? Now, here's another one that's in a slightly disassembled state. The guys are hoping to rebuild it by the end of the show. It's had paint work. So look at that engine bay. You could eat your dinner from the engine bay. You're not going to get too close to it. There's quite a fair bit of work to be done here. The guys try and do something special for every show. Now, the only thing is, if we have a look here, if you think that looks daunting, this is all the bits that have got to go back in the car. So if you come into the show in the last day or so of the show, when you've seen the video, feel free to help the guys, because I think they could use it. So just a shout out for Drive It Day for 2024, a great event, great opportunity to get your classic car out the garage and also make a contribution for charity, being promoted by the Federation of British Historic Vehicle Clubs. So please take part, get involved, and put a few miles on your car at the same time. Thank you. So this is a Cavalier Mark II facelift. It's the SRI with the lower, darker body colouring. And Vauxhall ran a campaign back in the day and saying the eyes have it. The most important thing you could have on your car on the back was injection. That eye badge in the company car park, that was the one to have. It's the one we always wanted. It even got the rear tail spoiler as well. Oh, absolutely glorious to see that, isn't it? So I promise you a visit to the Lancaster Pride of Ownership stand, and here we are. Never disappoints, this one. And this is a 1964 Daimler SP250, incorrectly called the Dart. Legal action by Dodge prevented that happening. It is a glass fibre body shell, quite a new material at the time, but enabled the car to reach production very, very quickly compared with tooling for a metal bodied car. And interesting enough, this is the last car that Daimler actually made before the takeover of Jaguar, who were keen to buy the company for its capacity. So it's hard to believe that the Golf is celebrating its 50th anniversary, and this Mark I car, owned by Anthony Lataka, has been restored. It's a lovely tangerine colour, got what sort of a Webasto roof in there. Just have a peek inside. It is as stunning a Mark I Golf non-GTI as I think I've probably ever seen. That is an absolute Bobby Dazzler, isn't it? So this is an Austin A35. It was Austin's answer to the Morris Minor. The A35 had the bigger 903 cc engine, which made it a bit quicker. absolutely lovely story with this car. It was owned by the current owner, Colin's uncle. He saw it in a garden on the way back from the pub. It was painted white. This was the original colour, by the way, that left the factory. And pretty much the guys have restored it as a family over lockdown. And what a cracking job they've done with it. The interior, apart from the headlining, is pretty as was. It's got the larger rear window that came with the upgrade from A30 to A35, and what a stunning job. So it's come all the way from Scotland, and glad to see it here today. It's fantastic. So this is a Barolo Red, unusual colour for a 190. It's a 1.8, so the 1.8 replaced the carburettor car, and this 1993 car is owned by Arun. So we're going to have a chat with him because it's in absolutely beautiful order. Did really well to found the car in Scotland. He's going to tell us a bit more about it, and let's see what he's got to say. So I'm on the Lancaster Pride of Ownership stand, and I couldn't miss the opportunity of having a chat with a fellow 190E owner. So this is Aaron, not necessarily a typical car for your generation. What attracted you to a Mercedes?
Well, my dad's always been interested into Mercedes.
Right.
He won a C220 back in 1990.
Oh, he won one?
Sure.
Okay.
Yes, he did.
Wow.
But he had to sell it due to financial reasons. But he's always been interested into 190s, and I followed his footsteps, and I decided to, get involved in it as well. We bought this 190 in Glasgow, so we didn't actually view it at first. We saw it on Client Classic. We thought it was a beautiful car, so we just bought it. We didn't view it at all, and it came trailer down. But when it came, it wasn't what we thought it would be. It was more of a pinkish colour instead of what it is meant to be now, which is Barolo Red.
Yes.
So it was more of a pinkish colour. We decided that, well, it's going to need a full paint restoration.
Right.
So we bought loads of polishes, such as Kosh Chemie, Maguire's, Autoglym, and we've polished the car up completely. I've done Kosh Chemie, everything you can think of to be able to get the car back in its standard.
Wow, and it's only got 92,500 miles on?
Yes, 92, yeah.
Wow, fabulous. Well, it's a credit to you. Thank you for chatting with us. Thank you very much. Cheers. Now, rarely do you come to a show and see an Escort 55 van. This one from 2000 in Amparo Blue is in, well, just almost new condition, to be honest with you. We'll try and get the story from the owner, Steve, in a second. It's well equipped, it's got electric windows, it's got heated mirrors. The condition inside and out is nothing less than breathtaking. It is as good as new. So the elderly owner had this for a number of years, then sold it, recently reunited with it. So I say we'll get Steve to tell us the full story, but doesn't that look absolutely fabulous? So I'm here with Steve, who's got an Escort 55 van on the Lancaster Pride of Ownership. Now, this is not your typical classic, is it? A 55 van that's had love and care, and it's a metallic one as well?
Metallic, Amparo Blue.
What's the story? Why restore an Escort 55 van?
Well, it's not been restored.
Oh, hasn't it?
No, this was bought 2 years ago from an elderly guy I bought it from, who'd had the van from brand new.
Good Lord.
So he'd had it for 22 years. Used to take his wife shopping in it.
Wow.
And that was about it, really.
Oh, he didn't really use it for business much then?
No, he popped to, I think, kind of the later stages of working. He took it to work and things, but it was mostly used for just shopping. And
what's the colour? It's a Ford colour. It's
called Amparo Blue.
Amparo Blue, okay.
Which was a special edition colour, I think, for about the year 99 to 2000, something like that.
And it's what, relatively, 61,000?
61,000,
61,000 miles?
Full service history. Just passed its MOT 2 weeks ago. No advisories at all, and it's just been loved by this guy, really. Yeah. And
I've seen Ferraris in worse condition than this. This is. It looks like a full ground restoration. Yeah. So it's a credit to the previous owner and to yourself, definitely.
Thank you. Yeah. In fact, he came up to where I live last week, and I presented him with a picture of the van. And
fabulous!
Like
I'll cut in a picture of that now.
Yeah. Just a picture of him, just so you can see the van again. But,
that is fabulous. Lovely. Thank you very much for talking to us.
That's all right. No, thank you. Cheers. Thank you.
So shout out to the Morsels and Motors YouTube channel, who like their base cars, and you can't get much more base than this, can you? An Escort Popular from 1990, in fact registered just within a few days of the launch here at the motor show at the NEC, ironically, and it's in great order, isn't it? So this green or applejack coloured beauty is a very early, first year of production Metro W plated. They dropped the Mini Metro badge and they went just for Metro. Apparently it's as base as base. It doesn't even have a grade badge because it didn't have one. It's just called Mini Metro. And oh, it's got a radio, must have been an option, and it's got a cigarette lighter as well. Well, that's handy. Some lovely vinyl seats in there. Well, it's certainly in incredible condition, isn't it? What a beauty. So at first glance it looks like it might be a Mitsubishi, but in actual fact it's a Honda. It's the last Honda, sort of partly engineered by Soterio Honda, and it was never officially imported into the UK. I think it was imported into New Zealand and Australia, hence the fact this is a right-hand drive car, and it's in great order, isn't it? It's a 1300 Coupe 7GL apparently from 1972. I've seen this car before and I mistook it for another brand. I did mistake it for, I think, Mitsubishi. I didn't think it was a Honda, but apparently it is. MG ZRs are getting quite a following now, and these two later post facelift cars with this chrome paint finish, chrome pearlescent paint finish, looks absolutely incredible, don't they? Absolutely pop. Wow, that one particularly. So we haven't seen too many Sierras at the show, but this is the one that belongs to Cornish Car Collectors, so shout out to the channel. He's got an awful lot of content, a lot of Fords on there, and also some Rovers as well and other things. It's in beautiful condition. He's driven all the way up from Cornwall with his car. It's unusual because it's the 2-litre double overhead cam engine rather than the sort of more well-known 2.9, and it's a beauty. It really is. So thanks once again for joining me on the Practical Classics Restoration Show 2024. I hope you've liked the cars we've seen and the interviews we've had. Please like, share, subscribe, turn on notifications so as to be informed of my next video. And once again, as always, thanks for watching.